Next up, we have Killi Resources, ASX code KLI, market cap around $10 million. We have with us Kathryn Cutler, who is the Chief Executive Officer. The company is a gold, copper and rare earths explorer, applying modern exploration techniques to underexplored provinces in WA and Queensland. Kathryn, over to you. Thank you.
Oh, good morning, Tim, and thanks everyone for joining us on Share Cafe. As you said, I'm Kathryn Cutler. I'm the CEO of Killi Resources, and we're an Australian-based gold, copper and rare earth explorer, which listed on the ASX in February this year. This morning, I'm going to cover why Killi is a hidden gem and why you should keep an eye on us in the future. Next slide, please. So, standard disclaimer, please read that when at your own leisure. At Killi, we have a strong board and technical team with a proven track record for mineral exploration. We have 4 wholly owned assets, belt scale projects in geological provinces that are underexplored and in most cases have been neglected for many decades. We plan to apply modern exploration techniques to these projects to find mineral systems of economic value. Next slide, please. It's our corporate overview. Killi listed on the ASX on the 10th of February 2022. We raised $6 million by issuing 52 million shares at 20 cents, with the top 20 shareholders owning and holding just 44% of the company. Next slide, please. This is our board and management. Richard Bevan is our chairperson and was previously the MD of Killi Resources, a nickel explorer based in WA. Greg and myself are both geologists, and Greg is currently the CEO of Killi Resources. Phil Warren is our non-exec director and has 15 years experience of corporate advisory value. And Emma Waits is our company secretary with 20 years experience. Next slide, please. Killi has 4 wholly owned assets in Australia, 2 in WA, in the Kimberley and the Pilbara regions, and 2 in Queensland, inland of Townsville and Bundaberg. The main focus of the company is the West Tanami Gold and Rare Earth Project in WA, followed by our Queensland assets. Next slide, please. So let's dive into the West Tanami. Next slide. The company owns 1,600 square kilometres of ground up in the Tanami district, which is a long strike from the fertile Tanami fault system. The project is adjacent a 15 million ounce gold field and is only 120 kilometres along strike from the multi-million ounce KLI gold mine. The project historically has been held by large explorers such as Barrick, Goldfields and Geopeco, who generated multiple gold targets and completed first pass RAB, Aircore and VAC drill programs on some of these targets from the 1980s to the early 2000s. Since then, there's been minimal groundwork to the area, and Killi plans to apply modern exploration techniques to unlock the potential of the project. Recent work conducted by our neighbours in this area have highlighted the possibility of rare earth mineralisation in the district. Next slide, please. 45 kilometres north of our project, the West Tanami, is the Browns Range Rare Earth Element Mine, owned by Northern Minerals. And more recently, impressive rare earth rock chip samples were produced by our neighbours on our eastern boundary. Rare earths in this area are believed to be related to hydrothermal minerals deposits associated with specific rock units and structures, of which the West Tanami project is anticipated to collectively hold 95 kilometres of potential strike. Next slide, please. As released yesterday, drill rigs are currently mobilising to this project, with an Aircore RC drill rig planning to follow up extensions of known gold mineralisation onto the tenement, as well as following up quartz veins identified at surface with gold values up to 2.48 grams per tonne gold. As well as this, first pass drilling gold and rare earth structures will be explored at our Trickster project, where there's currently absolutely no drilling. A diamond rig's also been mobilised, and that will be testing the potential of a KLI style gold system at our Raven project. And this is a joint venture with the West Australian Geological Survey, as the company won a $150,000 grant from the government to complete this diamond hole. Further rock chip samples and soil samples will be completed for gold and rare earths over the area to narrow down drill targets and assist with our priorities for exploration. Next slide, please. Our Mount Rawdon West project. So our Mount Rawdon West project is a gold copper project. It's located 100 kilometres inland from Bundaberg, near the Mount Perry or the historical old Mount Perry copper smelter. The tenement covers the intersection of the prospective Mount Rawdon and the Mount Perry gold and copper trends, and has significant gold intercepts in drill holes right up to our tenement boundary, which includes 56 metres at 1 and 26 metres at 1.4 grams per tonne gold from surface. And these strike directly into our tenement on the western margin. The area covers historical gold, copper and molybdenum mines, which were closed at the beginning of the last century. One important point to note is that there is not one drill hole on our tenement, so the ground is open for discovery. The company plans to conduct geochemical work on the project to confirm existing rock chip samples of 2.1% copper and 1.4% copper at some of the historical copper mines, and following on for this will be drill programs. Next slide, please. Onto our Ravenswood North project, again in Queensland. Ravenswood North holds 580 square kilometres of the Ravenswood Charter Towers district. This is a well-endowed mineral system with eye-watering gold deposits within 60 k's. EMR Capital is to our southeast and owns the Ravenswood gold mine. So they have an 8 million tonne per annum gold plant there, which has produced 3.5 million ounces of gold historically and has a current resource of 6 million ounces of gold. Mount Lation to the south has produced 3.8 million ounces of gold and 2.4 million ounces of silver. And Charter Towers, the district immediately south of our project area, has a current inferred resource of 11 million ounces of gold. So the company believes we're in the right place and we're in the right spot to find a large, intrusive related gold system. Next slide, please. We have been completing some work recently, so I will go through that. Historically, the majority of the work on the project was completed in the early 1980s, about 1980 to 1985. The work generated some really good, solid results with stream soils and rock chip samples anomalous for gold and/or copper and silver. This year, we identified 2 rock chip samples immediately east of the existing Mount Success and Golden Valley gold mines, which were 17 grams per tonne gold and 5 grams per tonne silver, and a 16 gram per tonne gold and 7 gram per tonne silver rock chips. We decided to complete a soil grid over this area to determine whether there was any anomalism, and we were returned with a really favourable 1.5 kilometre squared geochemical anomaly, which was anomalous for gold, silver, copper and molybdenum. This is important because it has the same geochemical fingerprint to known gold deposits in the area, and it is adjacent to the 2 mines I just mentioned, Mount Success and Golden Valley. And the level of anomalism is also important. The values were greater than 100 times background gold, and that's extremely encouraging for us to follow up. We've just completed our VTEM survey, which is an airborne heli survey over the main 2 tenements that you see there on that image at the bottom. Results are pending, but the premise of that survey is that the helicopter flies over the area and provides specific locations for any magnetic or electromagnetic responses received from the ground. Rock chips and soils are still continuing on the project, with results all pending in the next few weeks. Continue on to our Balfour project. Next slide. Balfour. So Balfour, coming back to WA, this is a 350 square kilometre tenement package that covers a Proterozoic rift boundary in the Pilbara and its potential for a sediment-hosted base metal deposit. There are existing geochemical soil anomalies on the project of copper and zinc, and this project was granted this year for mineral exploration. The company plans to add this into our work exploration pipeline in the mid to long term. Next slide, please. This is our exploration strategy. Currently, we have rigs mobilising to the Tanami for gold and rare earth exploration. We have a plane mobilising at the end of this month to complete 1,000 square kilometres of airborne magnetics and radiometrics. And we'll be continuing our geochemical program at Tanami, Ravenswood North and Mount Rawdon West. Next slide, please. So in summary, we have 4 fantastic large-scale projects in highly prospective geological belts. We have the experience to complete the work and we have the track record for discovery. And the company is well funded and structured to provide value to our shareholders.
Thank you, Kathryn. Quite a few questions coming through here. Can I just start, and we're seeing this a little bit in the market at the moment where you've got kind of rare earths and gold as a combination of potential assets. How are those two minerals complementary from a drilling and production perspective?
That's a good question. Rare earth deposits in this area are hydrothermal systems. It's where you've got a lot of fluid cooked up coming through the crust, and it deposits out in favourable units like sediments, like sandstone or quartzites or something like that. Gold is very much the same system. So we can effectively explore for both elements at the same time by targeting structures that are very similar to one another and adjacent one another.
I mean, there's a lot more interest in rare earths. So in the past, gold companies could have had rare earths as on the ground there, but haven't been bothered to mine it. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, historically, it wasn't as a hot topic or a hot element as it is now.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. I'm sure there'll be lots of people revisiting some of their existing projects.
And in regards to West Tanami, what drew you to this area? I mean, there's several other successful explorers kind of operating in that region. Do you all work together and do you monitor each other's activities and results?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're all joined. The board, we put ourselves together mid-2021. We put the management team together. And we went about trying to find a project that was in a really underexplored belt in which we could find something significant. And that directed us towards the Tanami. Currently, there have been a couple of other floats in the area. So there's now 4 companies operating in the one district, all exploring for gold and rare earths. And it's pretty exciting that the area hasn't been explored on our tenement for 20 years. And I'm sure some of the other areas might be quite similar. So we're really excited to get out there and give it a go.
And you announced this week that the drill rigs are mobilising to site. When can we expect these to be operational?
Yes, they mobilised. I put an announcement out yesterday. They're on their way up there. You can appreciate it's not a short journey to the Tanami, but they're on their way. So very shortly we will have the rigs and the rods spinning.
How far away is that, and how easy is it to get a drill rig at the moment?
Well, it's been locked in for a long time, since last year actually. So it's been all right to get a rig at the moment, but keeping it will be the problem. So we will do our very best to keep it in the district, and with all companies exploring at the same time, we should be able to share the rigs around and keep it working for all of us.
And markets are always looking forward. So can you give us kind of expectation of first results from the drilling campaign in terms of timing?
Timing shouldn't be too far away, actually. Other than the freight and mobilisation of assays down to laboratories, laboratory times are about 8 to 9 weeks at the moment, which isn't the big blowouts we saw last year. So I imagine within the drill rig start going this next week, we should have results end of August, September, something like that.
And you sport for choice really with your assets. How do you focus your resources on which particular asset at which particular time?
Yeah, that's a very good point. We are spoilt. Look, the focus is the Tanami. We are limited somewhat by weather and seasons. So we have scheduled all our exploration to account for all of this at all projects, because not only does the West Tanami have a field season, so does Queensland. So we've split our resources. We have a senior consulting geologist in Queensland who looks after those 2 assets, and we have a senior consulting geologist here in Perth who's assisting with the West Tanami project.
Great, Kathryn. That's all we have time for. Really appreciate you telling us the Killi Resources story and love to follow up later in the year.
Well, thanks very much, Tim.